Good evening. We have just returned from an executive session held to discuss issues related to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and that is in reference to the Medfield Teachers Association, Unit A and B. And under purpose number 1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. The individual to be discussed in such an executive session shall be notified in writing by the public body at least 48 hours prior to the proposed executive session, provided, however, that notification may be waived upon written agreement of the parties, and that is the superintendent and the director of student services. Okay, so I will now call to order this June 16, 2022 regular session of the Medfield School Committee. Begin a roll call. Leah Brown.
Here.
Tim Knight.
Here.
Anna Mae O'Shea.
Here.
And Michelle Kirk. Jessica Riley, I am here. So this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the Medfield TV YouTube channel for your viewing pleasure. So at this point, I will take public input. Citizens at this time may address the committee on items of school business not on this evening's agenda. The committee will take such items under advisement without action or discussion at this time at the meeting at which the item is presented. All comments will be taken in person and limited to 3 minutes. So please approach the podium and state your name and address for the public record if there is anyone who feels compelled to give public comment. And I'm going to say no. Okay. The next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes for the regular meeting held on June 8th, 2022. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, Anna Mae, do I hear a second?
Second, Tim.
And Tim Knight, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the motion passes unanimously. Okay, now for the really great part of the night, which is we have under new business, follow-up on a senior project that has left an lasting impact on our district. And so I would invite Louisa Brooke and Dia Yadapakaya up to the podium to tell us about their senior project, what they brought to us last year.
Yeah.
About this
Hi.
time.
Thank you all for listening to us. So we started the Period Initiative last year as a part of our civics project, which every junior is required to complete. Essentially, at the time, the Scott saying the Free Period Products Provisions Bill, which required all period products to be free in all public restrooms and schools. And we felt inspired by this and decided to start this at Medfield High School. We were all interested in research period poverty. It's a global issue, and that's when people cannot fund and spend money on period products because they're very expensive. And we decided to make sure that at Medfield High School, everyone would have the opportunity to have free menstrual products. So the beginnings of this were started with these baskets and products funded by our moms and donations, but essentially they were sustainable. And we seniors at the time, we had a lot of work to do, so we didn't really have the time to dedicate 100% effort into our project and make sure that the baskets were being filled with products all the time. And that's when we started our senior project.
Yeah, so at the start of senior year, like in the winter, we applied for some grants to get some funding for the products and everything, but sadly those were not accepted. So we used the opportunity of having the senior project available to us, so we can dedicate like all our time in order to get the funding for these products and to create a long-term plan. So at the start of our project, we didn't know how to start, like get funding and everything. So we looked to Kathy Thompson, who is the head of the nurse department here, and she was so helpful, and she introduced us to the company Aunt Flo. And what they do is they have menstrual products that are comfortable, environmentally friendly, they reduce waste, so they were perfect for us. And they also have dispensers, and so they're super easy to fill, and it does not take a lot of time, and it's super easy to use. So we wanted for this, and we applied for some grants, but again, they weren't accepted, and they also take a while to get processed and everything. So we wanted something to be done like now. So we turned to Dr. Morrison, and he was able to get the products into the school's budget. But we also wanted funding for the dispensers. So we looked to our community and started a GoFundMe, and thanks to everyone's support, we were able to raise the money in less than 24 hours. So now next year, we're gonna have the dispensers and products in all the girls and gender neutral bathrooms in the high school and also in the middle school. So people don't have to worry about having the funding for all these products, and also it does not waste valuable or any time going to the nurse and everything. So it reduces a lot of stress. So we're super excited. So that's our project.
Sorry, I just have loved this project since I've heard about it, particularly because one of the greatest causes of absenteeism in young women is the fact that varied products are so very expensive. It's right up there with the things we don't think about, like laundry and kids not wanting to come to school because their clothes smell, and things like that. It's just a needless drag on kids who are already so stressed. And I love that you came to us last year and presented about this. And I love how much you pursued the project, that even when it didn't seem like it was easy, you just decided, okay, well, I'll just make a left turn and figure out how to do this way. And how much you pursued through grants, through administration, through really thinking about how it is that will come to fruition. And you, in my opinion, left a lasting legacy on your high school that
Thank you.
has really moved us forward in a lot of ways around equity and understanding the broad reach of human experience.
I would say that when I met with them 2 times, gave you really compelling reasons why it was important. Very professional and articulate, and knew what they were saying. Knew the product, knew what they need to get, and came up with some solutions. My favorite part was the look on their faces when I gave them the budget book and said, "Now find the $5,000 somewhere." What?
Because I'm sorry, it was an educational experience too, so we couldn't just get it.
Great, you guys were awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I have a question. And thank you. Well done, very well presented too. But do you research to other schools in the state?
Yeah. So Dover Sherburne has started the project, actually inspired by us, through Kathy Thompson, which is really cool. And then Needham Public Schools has also started the project. And part of our senior project was to talk to state representatives. So we talked to Senator Rebecca Rausch, and we brought this up to her as well. And there is a bill being passed in the House, or it's already been passed in the Senate. It's called the IM bill, Increasing Access to Menstrual Products Bill. And we started a letter writing campaign to all the nurses in the state to make sure it passed the House. So that's kind of like what's been happening on the state level.
Fantastic.
And let us know how we can help going forward. I know that this will not be the last time that you impact your school. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Not even my kid. Okay. Thank you. Do I have any public comment? So we now have our end of year updates of some of the organizations that support us so much throughout the year. So the first would be PTO, the high school PTO. Would you like to?
Thank you, school committee, Dr. Jeff Marsden, and everyone for listening to us. I'm talking on behalf of the Medfield High School PTO. My name is Janie Boylan. Sorry. So the Medfield High School PTO took a conscious decision this year to take a back step in asking for donations. So we had limited funds, and so the start of next year we're going to really concentrate on fundraising again. So this was our reason. I've got to apologise to them why we weren't able to support their initiative.
On record, I'm really sorry. But I actually think being in the school bus is actually more sustainable and a much better solution.
Where it
So
belongs.
Yeah.
for good
It is
reason.
where it belongs, yeah.
Good
Yes.
reason.
We totally planned this. You're welcome.
We knew
Yeah.
that would happen. But we were able to still fund the visit from Chris Heron and the pep rally t-shirts and the teacher luncheons. All three of them were around 5,000 each, so we were really close to the margin with our budgets, but we will really concentrate on raising the funds this year. The PTO also supported the Community Service Awards, the Student Excellence Awards, and the School Spirit Awards, as well as the Teacher Inspirational Award. We'd like to thank the committee members who will be retiring. Co-chair Kim Price for her years on the committee and doing most of the work. And Ellen Trinity for our secretary for many years. Thank you for all your great summaries of our meetings. And thank you to our subcommittee members for their support this year. To Natalie Madge for organising the Pep Rally t-shirts and the Teacher Inspirational Award. Thank you to Amy Ferry, Deb Mueller and Suzanne Ten-Hagen for organising the teacher luncheons. And we hope you will return next year, please. Thank you. I've got the numbers if you want to go through the fine details of our budget, but that's our top line from Medfield High School PTO.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And as a little side to that, as on my grad card, we'd like to do like a little something as we fall under NHS PTO. We also started with $0 for the online grad party after 2 years of kind of pivoting and going from a rolling rally to a rolling rally party in the park. And we just at that time also didn't feel comfortable asking everyone for donations when, you know, it was a difficult time. So we did a big push. We had about 70% of the senior parents donate, which was great. We did a townwide mailer, which I'm sure all of you received, asked local businesses, and our biggest supporter this year was Planet Fitness. They really came through to help us out this year, so we simply thank them. The other thing that returned was the fashion show after 2 years, which is a huge fundraiser, and it was Jutsi Pizzulo and Marianne Sullivan who ran that for us, and they brought in about $9,000 for the party, so that was huge, and I think the kids had a great time. So with all that, we were able to bring back the online grad party for the first time in 2 years back into the school. The theme of the evening was memory lane, so their high school career was a bit, you know, so we're like, remember everything that was good about school. So they walked through like Memorial, which was cool, the letter people, across America, block, all the, you know, Rocky Woods and things like that, which was great. Nature's Classroom, DC, senior cruise, all the good stuff. So also this year we was up a little bit with trying to save funds and also be very aware of the fire codes of not having too much paper in the building. So a lot of the decorations were the kids. So they usually have like one wall of candid photos, but we put photos throughout. So that was kind of part of the entertainment for the night, where the kids could actually look at themselves and love it. So they were just walking around the whole night, just, you know, remember, like a lot of memories were back. And then we let them all take the photos down at the end of the night, which really helped with our cleanup. By the way, the cleanup was done in 1 hour. Like we were literally out the door, our cars were packed, said goodbye, 6 a.m. out of school. Incredible. Also, Noonco came through for us and they provided the main meal for the event. They had a nice taco bar. Did and then Bubbling Brook also donated. We were bringing it back to the Wheelock Ice Cream Social, so we kind of had that all set up for that memory. And I just want to thank a few people, if that's okay with that helped us plan, organize, and do everything. We could not have done it without them. Our food team of Kate Tormey and Laura Kirk, the entertainment team of Jeanette Hasapitas and Denise Iannone, the cleanup team, which is Karen Hopman, Siobhan Dennehy, and Lynn Malquist. And our decorating team leaders, which were Dana Ravitch, who focused on Memorial, Pam O'Brien, which was the senior cruise, Ellen Lindgren did Blake in Nature's Classroom, Jen Ryan was Hometown Heroes, Kirsty Young was Dale Street, Tabitha Douglas and Jen Carlson were Wheelock, and we had Alicia Silver with Rocky Woods and the Victory Garden, Heather McCarthy did Blake, which is DC Creature Feature, and part of that was Titletown, which was great because Titletown was set up in the upper calf, and there was Celtics game, and we had the game. They lost, but the kids could watch it at least. They were all going to come late and wait till the game was over. We're like, no. We also she did
Jen Cook.
Cook. All right. The pig races, did Hospital Hill and the Senior Sunrise, and the MFI youth leaders did the Little Welcome Area registration. We had our doctor and nurses, Jen Carlson, Lauren Gosner, and Dr. Marsha Robitaille, and of course, which was led by Keith Vogel. They were just there for us for every crazy request and everything throughout the night. So this really does take a village. We had over 300 volunteers. We had fire support, police support, everything, and it all went fabulous. So thank you to everybody.
Thanks for all your work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a value and a good goodbye, you know.
One more thing.
Yes, Janie?
Sorry. So thank you again for allowing me to make this presentation. I felt compelled that Kim Price should be publicly recognized for the amount of work she has put into the Medfield School District. Right from the start, when Adam and Liv were in kindergarten, Kim was involved with being a classroom parent, organizing class parties and teacher gifts. Little did she know, or perhaps she did, that she would progress to be heading up numerous PTOs and NCPEs, organizing the town's many fun events to help raise thousands for the schools. Kim helped create fun experiences for the kids that they'll cherish fondly when thinking back to on their Medfield childhood, such as the Winter Carnival, Spelling Bees, Kids Night Out, multiple theatre productions and banquets, rolling rally, party in the park, all-night grad party, and of course parent experiences to help raise funds by the way of the trivia nights, the spring flings, and the fall balls. Some of these were no small feats. They took months of planning and coordinating and quite a few tents. Kim will be very hard to replace. In fact, it will probably take the equivalent of at least 3 or 4 volunteers to replicate the amount of work she puts in. She's creative, super efficient, logical, has an extensive contact list, dedicated, and goes above and beyond to make sure everyone is happy and included. I have multiple examples of her thoughtfulness. Just recently, I witnessed that even when she was physically and mentally exhausted, she took it upon herself to go the extra mile to ensure everyone was happy with the details. Kim has the Midas touch in that everything she gets involved with, she improves and raises the bar. I know for sure that there are some fantastic parents coming up through the younger grades who do incredible volunteer work for the schools. But this volunteer group is noticeably getting smaller and smaller each year, and it's the same folk who pick up the reins each time. There aren't too many Kims in the world, unfortunately, who would do the same amount of volunteering to cover multiple roles. So parents, if you're listening, please get involved with whatever is being organised, however big or small your contribution is needed and always very much appreciated, and it's often very rewarding. It's not always about writing a check, although that helps. It's always about the experiences, making lifelong memories and laughter. The all-night grad party highlighted just this. The theme this year was down memory lane, creating decorative journey through the class of 2022 school years from kindergarten to high school. Many of these special memories were parent volunteer based, such as the ice cream socials, the spelling bee, 3x3 tournaments, winter carnival, Rocky Woods, and the all-night grad party itself. Thank you to each and every volunteer who came to help, however big or small. We really did appreciate it. The Kim, you're too humble and will hate every second of this, but you truly are one in a million, and you deserve the recognition. You'll be an impossible act to follow, and most definitely will be missed by many, mostly me. Your kindness prevails, and we wish you all the success. I'm doing an anime.
It's okay.
In whatever new adventure you choose. On behalf of all the parents, students, and teachers, who have benefited from your dedication and hard work. Thank you. Everything.
That's awesome.
Yay.
Thank you,
Thank
Kim.
you.
I
Thank you,
literally,
thank you.
even before she said something, you're standing there and I'm thinking, for the last, what, 10, 15 years? 10 years, I have literally either been facing you, working with you, seeing you, and you're doing like 5 different things that I'm not doing along with the thing that I'm standing, you know, like, and you're just so damn fun to work with too. That's the other thing, is that it isn't so much when you do an enormous amount, but it's never a chore to work with you. So,
I've truly loved my time here and working with everyone. It's just, it made me happy, it got me through a lot, so thank you for letting me do it.
Thank you.
No one works like you, honey. Ooh, those
Oh,
spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Or
Liz is making
spreadsheets.
some killer spreadsheets now. Watch out, right?
Well,
Asking for
thank you.
help.
Thank you very
thank
much.
you so much. I appreciate it.
And thank
Um,
you, Jeannie.
All right, who wants to go next? MMA or CPAC? Come on, wanna fight. I have to call on
You
you.
know how much I love speaking.
Okay.
It'll be a hard act to follow.
I know.
Well, I'm gonna accept, I said, I see Kathy and all these things too, so, you know.
Can you, maybe before you leave, you see the picture,
Oh, yeah.
but I don't want to be looking at it.
Oh, yeah.
And for those of you who do not know, I am Kathy O'Neill. I serve as co-president of the Medfield Music Association along with Jamie O'Loughlin. Thank you for inviting me to share the MMA's contributions to the Medfield Music Program during the school year. Due to the pandemic, we were not quite sure what to plan for the school year. Donations were down from the prior year, and we did not know whether we would be able to host in-person fundraisers. So we had many contingency plans and made last-minute pivots to some of our events to end the year successfully. A big thank you to our generous donors, community sponsors, and amazing volunteers for their incredible support of the music program this year. I would also like to thank the school committee, Dr. Marsden, Jason Bielik, and the entire music staff, and the principals and staff of each school for their commitment to the music program. We started our year providing an additional $2,500 in funds to the high school to complete the purchase of the concert attire for all the high school ensembles. Members of the MMA brought back snack table for the band when they performed at the football games. A big thank you to all of those parents out there who not only provided the snacks, but volunteered at the table. We held 2 successful fundraisers. In November, we held our annual wreath and bulb sale. And we thank the student and parent volunteers who help us tag and deliver all those wreaths the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Our winter fundraiser helped us to achieve a very important objective, which is always an important objective of the MMA, which is to form a bond connection between young children and families, the music program, and the MMA. A big thank you to MAP for their support of this event. Our Build a Levy Storytime virtual event provided us with the opportunity to make this connection, and we gratefully appreciate our generous donations from supporters of the music program. We finished the year with a flurry of activity in the month of May, the jazz night, acapella night. The changes to pop night kept us busy right to the very end, and we finished the year celebrating our seniors by hosting a high school music banquet. Along with the above mentioned $2,500 in additional funds to the high school concert attire, we were able to provide a stipend for the jazz band. We paid for the choral accompanist, choreography, and guest clinician for sound waves, as well as guest clinicians at both Blake and the high school. We helped pay for supplies for the Wheelock Arts Night. We provided funding to give a token of appreciation to student volunteers at Dale Street for their help. And we would be remiss not to mention the countless hours of volunteer work by members of the board, as well as many parents from the music community. We finished our year distributing a little over $6,200 in scholarships, merit awards, and summer study awards to our student applicants through a blind application process. And this still leaves us in a strong financial position for the start of next year. In 2022, MMA celebrates 50 years, See, now I'm going to tear up too. We celebrate 50 years of successfully supporting the music program in Medfield. We hope to celebrate its continuation as a living and breathing organization which contributes to the music program and music family needs and welcomes family participation. We hope the music department and the administration continue to provide enrichment opportunities and a welcoming environment to all our music students and their families. I thank you.
Thank you. Just in case anybody thinks we're just a big bunch of criers, it's just because we care. And this last meeting is always, actually, there's a lot of transitions that happen. All right, so, and then Kristen for CPAC.
Yes, I guess I have no way to avoid this.
No, you don't, but we're all here with you. It's just us.
So, thank you. Kristen Martin, I am the president of CPAC for this current year and next year as well. So you'll be fortunate enough to listen to me like stutter through every presentation next year as well. But so this year has been a very trying year for CPAC. I've been involved in CPAC since my son started school, and I haven't had as many tears as until this year, and we've been tearing together. As a community, we've come together, and I am so proud of the support that we've gotten from Medfield Public Schools, the community, and the parents, and just it's been a wonderful experience being president this year and what we have accomplished. So I am supposed to go through everything. I don't know how much I gotta read. I sent it all to you.
Read what you're comfortable with, and we will be happy to hear it and pleased to read it.
So as CPAC, the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, we are put in place to advise the school district, promote a network of parents, promote communication, provide informational forums, promote and encourage understanding, acceptance, and inclusion, and to communicate. And so that is one thing that I think that we've done very well this year, is promote inclusion and equity for all of our students, whether or not they're on an IEP, a 504, or a general ed student. Everyone, parents included. That's our goal, is to educate and to make sure that everyone, no matter their circumstances, what they're coming in, that they are there to get educated. That's the goal. And so we've had many meetings, but some things that are really touching that we want that every year we bring the educational team leaders, and Mary Rule is wonderful. Like I can't thank her enough for the support that she brings to us. Anytime we ask her for anything, she is right there for us. Weekends on like when she doesn't need to be, in our opinion, because she has a family. We all do, but she's there for us. She has brought the educational team leaders to introduce themselves to our parents, to make sure they know who to contact if they need anything at their schools. Who is a point person beyond the school teacher? Where do they need to reach out to? She brings us our basic rights, and we're very fortunate to partner with Medway, and Medway's special ed director or student service director, I'm not sure the title of Medway, and Mary, they do our basic rights for us, which is a wonderful conversation. And then I'm also fortunate enough to be, as well as many members of the CPAC board, on the early adopter for the IEP improvement project with Mary Gruhl and Ann Buckley. And so we've been going through this, and in January, Mary Salamoni and Mary Gruhl gave a wonderful presentation to let the community know what's going on with that project. Then,
Oh, we know.
we
Go
know.
ahead, just put it out there.
We know, seems like in our world, all hell broke loose. Excuse me. And we needed to step up. And it went from February 10th instance. It was It was Mary Brule all weekend and CPAC on February 15th. 5 days later, we had a forum, Autism 101. That was presented by Dr. Carol Wilkinson from the division. She was the attending physician at the Division of Developmental Medicine at Boston Children's Hospital. We tried many times to give her an honorarium. She kept refusing. She took her time to educate the community. We had about 85 participants that night. That was the most that CPAC, I believe, has ever had for one of our forums until March. And it was a wonderful, as somebody who lives autism every day, to learn more. There's always more education that anyone can have. And that's what we were able to bring to the Medfield community. That was part of the hard part. That was a really hard time for us, as it was for the community as well. We were hurting, and we came together to heal. But CPAC and the community and the school district, we went on our way, and we brought our post-secondary transitions presentation for the juniors and senior parents, and it's really helpful for even younger parents as well to have an idea of what's coming down the line. And we're very fortunate that Meredith Becker, our out-of-district coordinator, and Stephanie Ridley, the guidance department chair, they do this for them. They volunteer their time to do this for us. It's like we can't thank enough for all of the Medfield Public School employees that give their time to help us. And then it's March 21st. Our biggest forum, we had Dr. Temple Grandin for our presentation in this room, and it was wonderful. I was able to it was one of the first times we were actually in person. We do all of our meetings virtually over Zoom, and yes, we're going to continue that because in our lives, it's really hard to leave the house, and especially to get all the a bunch of parents in one room that have to leave. It's just to leave the house, it's really hard. So that's one thing we're going to try to continue moving forward with our Zoom meetings for CPAC. That's next year. But it's wonderful. We had, I remember, the 20 and 40 in person, and I remember watching the count on the Zoom, like close to 200 coming in. So that was a wonderful presentation that we were fortunate enough to have with Medfield District. One of our major donors that CPAC is very fortunate to have, the Louis and Mary Kay Smith Family Foundation. They donated to CPAC to pay for our part of the fee, which was wonderful to have Dr. Temple Grandin there. Let's just say we have a lot of support, and we do feel it, especially in times of need. We know that everyone is here to support us and everyone. So we know that is why you're here. That's why you also donate your time, is to help our children, and help the families. And then, and things that CPAC has done throughout the year, and every year we donate to the town's Angel Run. We award 4 scholarships to graduating seniors. So you get to watch, got to watch me bumble through that as well. I'm getting a bit better. It's easier when I don't read. So we give to 2 seniors to celebrate their commitment to celebrating others that may need some help, that are working towards making other students' lives better. And that's the goal. That's what we want our seniors and all of our students that go through these halls to do, to not think about themselves, but to spend some time and try to make somebody else's lives better. Whether or not they're on an IEP or a 504, but because it's the better thing to do is to make the community just better moving forward. So we donate, we present our scholarships for 2 seniors who do have the volunteer service toward the special ed and disability groups in the school community or throughout the state. And we also present 2 scholarships that are awarded to students on IEPs or 504s that the Medfield Scholarship Committee picks, and everyone writes an essay, just like every other scholarship. And we're very fortunate that we're able to do that through some of the sponsors the Medfield CPAC has been able to get throughout the years. One thing the Medfield CPAC also did this year is we were a part of the district's tier focused monitoring. And thing, we were interviewed in January and we amended our bylaws to make sure that they reflect what the state wants to see in the CPAC's bylaws. So we do that as well. I would like to thank the 2021-2022 CPAC board. So we have Catherine Munns as our vice president. We have Marsha Robitaille, the treasurer, with Jennifer DeCose as our other district representative, Sarah Quinta, our high school representative, Meredith Chamberlain, who has taken over Blake and Dale for the school year as our representative there, Lynn Cant from the Wheelock, and Jordana Balocker from the Memorial. And I'm very pleased to say that for our 2022-2023 board, we have all of our positions filled. Nobody is overlapping. And I think we're really ready to hit the ground running and to make sure what we started this year doesn't fizzle out. We're not going to let it, and I'm pretty confident that you're not going to let it either. So thank you for allowing us to do what we want to do, which is advocate for our children.
Thanks, Kristen. I have to say that I had one of those magic moments during the Temple Grandin presentation because I had dialed in, I was watching, I was like, this is amazing. And then I started having cascades of texts where people were saying, are you watching this? And I'm like, yeah, I'm on it. And then I'm like making my husband start to watch. And then there are people, I'm texting somebody and like, oh my God, I've got to dial in. Like it really was a cascade where all of a sudden people were watching this and feeling so invested in Dr. Grandin's story and her just incredible way of really describing what a visual life is. You know, how people do think differently and that there is equality in all of that, in our differences.
And it doesn't hurt, she's very comical.
She's funny completely.
Yeah,
She's got a flair for the dressing.
I guess I was very impressed too. I thought we were jumping in on like a part of a larger presentation, and we put it on the TV and the family watched it. Autism is a big part of our family's life. So we have read Temple Grandin's books and stuff before. But when I realized it was just for Medfield, I was even more blown away. She was really just talking to our community. So it was a huge presentation, and just I think it was a really great awareness builder here in town. So thank you.
And I honestly had no idea she was a hometown hero. She born and raised in Dedham.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like it's just, I never really realized that. So thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for your candor and your honesty. I think that sometimes, and if the audience kind of out there doesn't know, there at one of our public comments, there was just what I kindly call a profound misunderstanding of the causes and extent of autism, and to be honest with you, the people at the table, many of us being parents, said, stunned, and yet at the same time, the fact that CPAC stepped up and then we were able to involve the rest of the community in really saying this is an opportunity for us to all learn about autism and about difference, and not simply say, okay, now I'm just being mad about this. It's like, okay, let's bring everybody with us. And I think we all really appreciate that. Very much so. And sometimes great things happen from lousy moments. So thank you.
Letting us do that, turn it around.
I don't think anybody let you do anything. I think you took it exactly where you needed to go. Right. Dr. Morrison, with that, do you have anything since posting on June 14th?
I do not have to.
Okay. Then we will go on to old business, which seems, we should spell this current business a lot of the time. Thank you, Jamie. And we have the follow-up discussion after our discussion with the MHS redevelopment committee and Trinity from last week. So there have been some kind of additional developments since the time that we had the discussion. I do want to thank Trinity and Todd and Johnny from the redevelopment committee for being as responsive to so many of the concerns that we raised during that meeting. I think that's pretty much immediately we were speaking to Todd, I think pretty much the next morning, where I think a lot of the issues that we had brought up, Trinity really responded to. And I don't know if you want to kind of speak to that and speak to kind of the process there is. Talking about some of the resolutions around that. Yeah,
I thought you were talking to Todd, waiting for Todd to say something.
Sure, it's hitting you.
Oh, that-
I was-
Let's remember the superintendent has hearing loss in his right ear. Did not hear that, sorry.
We all have differences.
My
It's okay.
apologies. No, so I think, right after the meeting, we had some conversations with assistant town administrator, the town administrator, and I know that Todd was in contact with them as well, and also with Trinity. So I think, just trying to get some sort of resolution to the mitigation, which all of you had brought up at that meeting. I think that, the resolution of earmarking $1 million to the district as part of the mitigation for additional students was a great solution for the district and certainly for the community. I think, one of the things that we forget, and I think Monday night when we were talking about it with the board committee, is the amount of money that Trinity is doing for infrastructure
Right.
that is a liability for the town right now. And they're taking that liability away from the town, which, as Mr. Sliney mentioned on Monday night, really should, in the long run, help out our capacity to have a new school. So I think it's all connected and certainly sounds like a very positive project for the district. I mean, for the town and for the district.
I feel very much the same way. I know that Dr. Morrison contacted me on Friday morning and said, Trinity and Todd have already reached out to kind of talk to us about how we can fix some of these issues that were raised that were not simply just per student issues, but kind of long-term infrastructure and long-term planning issues. And I think that really, certainly for me, or something that I felt was a good project in the first place, but had some holes that we needed to address as a committee, were answered. And I personally feel, and I have not discussed this with the rest of the committee, but I personally feel that to me, at least demonstrated that Trinity was really looking to be a good, solid partner with the town. So,
I was
do we have
impressed with
other
the,
comments?
I was really impressed with the immediate response, to, help provide some sort of resource for us to tackle things that mitigation for increases in things like class size, whether, and then also the liability. Of course, the removing that liability does free up the one other hurdle that may have to stay in the way of a new school. But of course, those immediate things that have popped up, like, maybe the need for additional bus, and maybe the need for portable classrooms to mitigate class sizes.
The need for additional aids to manage,
Right.
like space needs at the same time, all this.
Correct. I think that extra funding will help cushion the blow. Obviously, it doesn't solve all the problems, but
It's a long-term town issue.
right.
I
Yeah.
think that-
So, but I think it's a step in the right direction. And supporting what I said last week, I like the project. I think looking forward to seeing what they do with this, with those buildings. That's what Tim.
No, I mean, I echo what you said. It's greatly appreciated. I think it was good, whoever made sure we had the conversation so that you heard, where our concerns were. So I think that's great. I think we do have to continue to work. It's a town issue,
Mhm.
longer term.
And I think the
Yeah.
town knows that too, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all the same pot. It's all us. So,
Exactly. I mean, I appreciate Christine and everybody coming together afterwards and the folks from the committee immediately responding. I mean, the next, I think it was the next day you sent some emails. Like, whoa, okay, so there we go. That's helpful. So.
Anna Mae?
Yeah, I echo what everyone has just stated. I suppose afterwards, because I'm definitely one who said, I'm pausing and reflecting on this. And because those numbers to me reflected overrides. However, I think maybe it was you, Todd, who said, or maybe it was the head honcho who skipped the Celtics game. What's his name again?
Jim.
Yes,
I
sorry.
hope he's there tonight. I saw Jim here today.
Well, it was
Can
that.
I go? You stay. I'll be right back.
I know, I suppose, if we would make safe harbor if this project went through. And I suppose a fear for the town and for me is, if it were a hostile kind of 40B situation, so I had to come out of it after all that was presented that night and reflect myself. And then, so that evening, that Thursday, I was ruminating on all these, like, oh, how do I weigh this out? And then the following morning, heard the offer of mitigation, kind of a bit of a safety net for us. And I thought that was a gesture of good faith that we're working together. So I appreciate that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment as well. I feel like, separate from being on the school committee, I very much support the project, but I very much appreciate Trinity and the development team listening to the concerns that we had as a school committee in regards to future planning. So I'm happy that we were able to build that safety net for future challenges that we might see in regards to that. And oh, I know what I was going to say. So one of the things that so Jim presented last week was one of the things that he wants to do for what he's doing is help the town be attractive to future people who would want to live here, right? I think in that space, you have to recognize that Medfield as a town very much cherishes its school. So I feel like this also shows an understanding of what our town really values, and making that move so quickly after we express concern, I think just shows how much Trinity wants to work with the town and keeping Medfield in regard to what our values are and honoring those as well moving forward. So.
I think so. And I also, as a taxpayer, this is not necessarily school related, but virtually everything about a taxpayer, being a taxpayer, is also school related, is that the amount of infrastructure that you are going to be able to put into the central campus then makes other parcels that much easier for other developers or whomever comes in after that to access, right? So that you, by doing that lion's share of that work, the other parcels kind of get rolled out a little bit more slowly, allow us to kind of have more possibilities. And I think that sometimes, sometimes when I hear on Facebook, well, we should be doing all of this all at once. And I think, no, actually, this is the way you eat a pizza, right? You eat a slice at a time, and you just go from there. If you come in too big, too large, too much with all of the parcels and with just completely changing the culture, you're going to end up having a lot more indigestion as a town than you'd ever want to. So I knew I was going to bring a food metaphor into this. You guys laughed. I didn't bring up the meatball. But I do think that, in my opinion, you've shown yourselves to be very good partners. And it's not simply just, thank you for the million. We do appreciate that. We understand that you understand the value of education to our town, but also just the general willingness to have that conversation and to show up here again tonight, which was not an obligation in any shape or form. So, do you have any particular comments, concerns, thoughts about the schools or anything you'd like to reflect at this point? And it's not necessary. I just want to make sure that you're part of the conversation you'd like to see. And I am now looking at you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks for the heads up.
you get,
I would say the conversation really did start immediately after we left the meeting. We were probably in the hallway
Yeah.
for an hour. And a lot of that conversation was about venturing with the schools in the future, if this were to be approved at town meeting, and things up there at that site, the history, archaeology, architecture, ecology, that outdoor classroom, things that could be done with the schools in the future. And then I don't want to speak for Jim or Trinity, but I think it was, let's sleep on the rest of what we've heard. If it's being learned at the meeting and what could be done. So I don't know for the protocols, if you ever vote on these things or someone stands up at town meeting and gives the perspective of the school committee. But I think my only question would be, is that something that the school committee could consider?
strangely enough, my next point.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
I do
mean,
think it
really,
would be helpful.
Yes,
I
think so too.
we
would be
We are
very willing
affected, so
to,
I think
I mean,
we
if we can do this a couple of ways. If the committee feels as though this is something they would like to do, and I'll just simply throw out a couple of possibilities. Because this is not necessarily a political issue, but something that we're not voting on it, although we're voting in town meeting, and we can say, that we're in support of a town program, a town initiative. And we can say that we could potentially write, and you'll have to make sure that I can do this. We could write an Aspen that Aspen is our email blast system to our own constituents, and also give it to Patch saying that this is, that Trinity has proven itself to be good partners, that they listen to our concerns. And then we would say, one of us could, the representative, just stand up and say essentially the same thing at town meeting, so that, the town knows that the concerns that we have had have been answered, and answered quickly, and that there is a consideration of future partnership. I don't know how you guys would like to construct that. Do you have thoughts about that?
Well, I think I'm, as far as your email blast, I think you'll be able to state the facts. I think one of the things we could do, it's voting that we are aware of the project, and that we could vote that we're aware of the project, and have it on our radar for possible impact to learning in our schools, and have are prepared to plan with the town, and partnership with the town, and Trinity has offered mitigation funds to support those plans. That planning, I think, and
Well, those are all statements of fact. What do we?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think-
Validity
No, I
out
think-
of that.
I don't wanna
Go ahead, Tim,
interrupt.
go
No, I
ahead.
don't want to interrupt, but
No, I'm
I
curious.
actually do like the
trying
way
to
you
frame
worded
it.
it.
I'm trying to
because-
frame it in a way that's very, without saying, you know what I mean, like, without being a political aspect.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think we should vote to say that we've evaluated it, and we feel that this is something that we can handle the impact in our schools, and that it's beneficial for the whole town. So I guess
So like,
that's-
what I caught, I'd like the second part, to continue to work in partnership with the town.
Yeah.
It is greatly appreciated and helps.
Yeah.
That it is a recurring expense that
Yeah.
we will, just saying, we also, expect to continue to work with the town.
Right, so this is kind of part of the conversation around also then working with the town to make sure that tax revenue that comes in is earmarked, or at least kind of understood, but that's a separate issue.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to say that without getting at the political stuff involved,
Right.
with everything. If you want us to publicly hear and vote vote to have you stand up and answer questions at town meeting, which is one of my other recommendations, is I have a feeling people could come to the mic and ask those questions. And so us being there, I intend to be there, of course, but someone being the point person to answer the questions, I think would be important and probably should be available, because I heard lots of feedback after the meeting last week, including in my own household, about strong opinions. And the gentleman that stood up here about not getting a school, but yet they're gonna do this, and they're very separate items,
Yeah, we want to make sure that we don't conflate those two.
That's right.
issues, But I think that there's a rawness,
Right.
amongst our constituency on both sides.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think the Aspen email is great, but I think beyond our, school-aged families, there is a greater community out there
You're
that are
absolutely
not in
right.
our schools and are also concerned because what happens to the schools happens in their pockets,
Mhm.
right? So they're going to want to know. So I think it is important for us to deliver a very concise, short, we don't have to, get into it if there are questions, but I do think we discussed it as a committee, we shared our concerns immediately, it was addressed by Trinity, subsequently.
And we can support the effort. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then that helps your committee, I'm assuming too, to have that support.
Yeah, for sure, because I think people do have questions.
Yeah.
We've been having this conversation, but people aren't tuning in.
Exactly.
They may not be
Sure.
aware.
Right, nobody.
Is there anything
Wow.
else that you?
This is the thing I have learned, and I'm sure all of you know this too. People do not tune in until approximately 5 days. It could be a 5-year project or, like a 5-month project. Sometimes when the rubber hits the road is when people really start asking questions. So
Is there anything that you've heard that you feel would be helpful for us to address or add to any sort of statement?
within the school department
Correct.
kind of purview.
Yeah, I mean,
School
questions I've
specific.
gotten is like, I've heard it's, possibly 60 more students, blah, blah, blah. How is that bad? Is that gonna, what's gonna happen? And
So
I've
some
tried
sense
to-
of perspective.
Yeah, I've
around
tried to
that.
address this, like, it could be an issue if all 60 came into kindergarten at the same time, or, that kind of stuff. But I said it's a ways off, and I'm trying to, there has been some mitigation now, consideration by Trinity, to help offset that. It's a revenue positive to the town, lots of things, but I keep reiterating that if we do nothing, we are possibly competing. Like, do you want to go to an override because we've got to figure out how to get, I don't know how many tons of asbestos out of a collapsing building? Like, that's not fun. I'd rather,
Tell me
if we gotta
about it.
go to an override, I'd rather be getting a teacher or a building. out of it, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's that stuff. It's an unfriendly 40B and having double, then it's out of your hand. Then you can't say,
Right.
what.
Exactly.
It's out of our control.
Is it safe to assume that in your presentation at the special town meeting, that you will cover much of what you covered?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we don't have to get into the weeds of that. I think our statement should be really clear, concise. We support it we did not take a formal vote, but each individual here supports it.
Would you be opposed to a formal vote to say that as a school committee, we discussed, we've spoken to Trinity, we've spoken to the redevelopment committee, that our concerns were met
So
and that
We've
we
shared
are
our
in,
concerns and-
and we are in support of the project as it is presented? No,
I'm gonna respond to Dr. Martin real quick. This sounds similar to, when we had to vote in support of the building committee's efforts, right? I think we're just voting on this committee's efforts.
Right.
Through our lens. Obviously, a school building lens is much more impactful on us. But this is a similar impact, right? On
For sure.
smaller scale. So I think a vote around that nature is,
appropriate.
I think it's
appropriate.
appropriate, yeah.
Completely.
So I'm hearing the concerns and I'm having the same ones about, what's an appropriate vote versus,
Like, we support the work of the committee, because it does still say we need to continue to work with the town. What I'm hearing is the pie gets larger that we can draw from, especially if, as you just said, we don't have to, maybe a $20 million mitigation.
Yeah, you don't wanna
But
compete
we
against
still
the
pick up that $500,000 expense. We need to continue to work with the town, which we will do anyways, but it's just saying, so I want to be a little careful, like, we support the work of the committee.
Right.
The recommendations, it keeps that unstable.
I think a vote
would you
is-
like to wordsmith this? Let's figure out a concise wordsmith, please.
Yeah.
Give me input.
oh. the
Yeah,
motion?
you
The
guys,
motion. Oh,
the motion.
It's
It's
don't know.
not all.
I
The
can-
most concise, we support the work of the committee.
What's the
No, I
exact
don't-
name of the committee again? I'm sorry, but the,
Medfield State Hospital Development.
so how do I even craft this?
We support the proposal that Medfield State Hospital and the
Community.
Trinity have put forward.
Yes.
I believe it supports the school's concerns.
Just keep it short.
I would say support that what's going through a special town meeting.
So we
Support that project.
support the article.
Support
Yeah.
this.
Okay, right, thanks, okay. Sorry, we can be a little wonky sometimes.
But in addition to, I mean, I do think we should
The article for the
state
following reasons.
that we shared our concerns.
Mhm.
Because it shouldn't, that to me, that
Well,
motion
that's the
right there,
discussion.
just, yeah,
Mhm.
it just sounds like, oh, we just rubber stamped it. I mean, but it entailed a lot more discussion.
Perhaps that could be in the article, but for the purpose of the motion, it's like, it's a yes or no kind of thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I would say,
Mhm.
this is a result of the discussion, which we have. Now, hours of meeting time that people can watch.
Hours.
Excitement
hours.
about it,
Motion to
and they will.
approve.
What, this is embarrassing. What number article is it's the LDA?
One.
Or it's number 1, right? So there's no kind of 1A, 1B. Okay. And then Article 2, we don't really need to put anything into because that's just not our,
Technicality.
it's not our, it's not our monkeys. Okay,
So what do we got?
do I hear a motion for the Medfield School Committee to vote in support of Article 1 as presented at the special town meeting on June
21st.
21st, and to speak to the community in town meeting, and speak to the committee to communicate that support.
So moved.
Did you get that, Andrea?
Yep.
Okay, that's why there's tape.
Second.
Anime second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right.
Small bills, paperback.
No, oh my God.
I just wanted to quickly say,
Late for work.
even if that
All you watching at home.
motion and vote hadn't happened, I'm so inspired by the work that you guys have done as a parent. Makes me want to be a better parent and be more involved in my kids' school. And I know this is not your only job, but just the volunteers you have here is pretty inspirational.
They're pretty fantastic.
Luckily, there's gonna be some beautiful apartments opening up overnight, and
That I will then be able to move into so that somebody who wants to be a parent to a lot more children.
So
Will move
you
into
guys
my
are
home.
having the breakfast.
Oh, we are
Yes.
having,
So just if you get feedback and questions
Yeah.
from the community, tell them there's people that answer questions.
yeah, Saturday at the hospital.
At the hospital, and it's from what time? to what
9
time?
to 11.
9 to 11, okay.
Bring your dog. if you have
Are you
a
the one
dog.
bringing the dog?
I'm bringing my dog.
Okay. I keep caring about
and
this dog.
Possibly my kids, but food truck with coffee, drinks and croissants, I think. or muffins.
Excellent.
Croissants and muffins. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a tough night, I think, but I think that with the lowered quorum, and I think it'll be, okay, we will get our, we'll definitely express that we feel is that there's not going to be true harm to the school with this, and that we feel it. Could be good long-term.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. All right.
Oh my gosh, look at this. I'm at the end of my script. No, I'm not. All right. The next item up for business, unless anybody feels like doing public comment on that, which would be fine. No, okay. My audience is dwindling here, as often happens. So the next thing is the school building project update, which I just wanted to make sure that we circled back to, being that this could possibly be our last meeting of the school year, but probably won't be. And just wanted to make sure, kind of in a housekeeping way, that we reported on kind of where we are in process right now. So it can be anime, it can be Jeff, it can be whatever we choose to do. I know that after the last meeting, you volunteered to take on kind of communicating and coordinating. So, and then we sent out an email saying so to the moderator and to the warrant committee and to the select board. And we received some feedback back from that. So I know that you're kind of following up. on these two
Yeah,
emails.
so I've got a chat with Scott tomorrow to touch base and just,
Can you just context, what was the letter?
Yeah, get the feedback.
No, yeah, what was the, just,
oh, so just made an introduction. I'll let you talk. You
Oh, that's
wrote
fine.
that.
Essentially, Scott was like, yes, absolutely, we should do this sooner rather
And the
than later.
context was working together to form the new SBC.
Right, how do we instill processes? How can we come together to make sure that each of our kind of selections and the people that we put forth can actually, perhaps even serve multiple roles, but we make sure that we have like a very good, well-rounded committee
Looking
that
at the
we don't have,
whole.
that we're not repeating each other's efforts. And Gus's email back was more about how we start the SBC, kind of lobbed it back in that he felt that the school committee needs to submit essentially an application to the select board for the kind of school that they want. I think that this email probably takes some picking apart, and just because there's a lot of issues there. And I actually put it in the PDF to Andrea so she can include it in the meeting minutes and the discussions. And then from there, really talk about, and I think what he's trying to do is make sure that it's the school committee that is driving the school project. Again, I think that that's a lot of conversations in the town, and it does seem to be one, it's like the two tigers tussling, right? Like, we're really supposed to be doing this kind of together. But it's almost like the hot potato that kind of.
There's a
goes-
motivation for that.
Right. And so I want to make sure that we're working together. I think it's a smart idea that we put together an idea of what it is that we want, although we didn't do that in 1,000 pages, but I think, an
But I-
encapsulated idea would be
Yeah.
fine. I also don't think that it has to preclude the
Yeah.
idea. It doesn't have to preclude actually putting the specific process into place about how we do this too, right? So that we are, that the more kind of operational parts of how we get to a committee, how we develop that and have those conversations at the same time. So I think that the process of how we pull the trigger on that in terms of starting the school project, whatever that starting gun happens to be, can be very different from and once we do that, how do we hit the ground running? And what are those actual, what are those specific bullet points that would make a school plan that was votable and something that could move forward and then doesn't actually require us to be married to things that we just may not. I really hate to be put in a box when a school plan is such an evolving and important kind of work, I think. I know I'm reaching
I'm
for
trying to
words here,
unpack
mostly
what
because
you
I'm watching Leo kind of.
Well, I'm
look
trying to
at that.
unpack what you said, but I mean, what kind of school we want, I mean, we could probably boil down the last big report into some bullet points, so many
There's really
square
no
feet,
kind of like-
houses, so many grades, outside of that, it's all regulated, by, code, right? So,
But I think it goes a step further, really, Leo, and you talked about it, thinking about this strategically, where are we
Mhm.
going? And not just Dale itself, but, looking at the district as a totality and our needs that are going to be,
yeah,
in different ways. So
I would hope that they would want to do a town-wide feasibility study, even looking at town hall. What does town hall might need in the future? Wheelock itself.
But we need a SBC before that.
Yeah, well, no, but even Wheelock. But let's take
That's the thing, we're getting ahead of it, right? I mean,
Yes.
We need to get an SBC.
Yes.
So nothing
And I-
happens until that takes place.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. I'm like,
Right,
Yeah,
the
so
school
I think
committee
there's
wants
a
to go
little bit of
forward
a
with the
cart and
project
horse issue.
And is asking that the SBC be formed.
yeah.
Right, because like we can describe the school.
But it doesn't
exactly
really.
what we
it doesn't
want, but
need
if I
parallel
put these
tracks.
requirements so rigid, that they have to be in line with what the community's going to support. And we need this help of the SBC to
Right.
do
The
that.
don't we have a permanent building thing, right?
Yes.
Right, and shouldn't the.
But
permanent
they are
building-
not supposed to be part of this essentially, the way the thing that we voted on
Yeah, the
or, and did not
Yeah.
support, has essentially removed the permanent building committee from
School building
the school
projects.
building
That
projects.
really that is really not very
And I
wise.
continue to speak into the air about this, but it's okay because it's law now, so we just really can't do anything. We just have to work with it. At least for this school, until we can figure out how to kind of.
Refresh my memory. Did the bylaw require that we put this proposal together before it's formed? I don't
There's a
think so.
different bylaw, apparently. Anyway, what I would recommend is
We
that
just
you
need to
guys
move forward.
read
Yes.
the email.
So
that
I've reached
Gus-
out to Gus
Okay,
and I've, so as I said, I've made contact with Scott. We're just gonna start having chats
Yeah.
and hopefully I will connect with others and it's Marset, right?
Like I've seen you in the
Jeremy's- yeah,
past, sometimes
Jeremy's the
be
one.
direct, and it'll be like the question with us. It's like, when can we have an SBC form? Do we even have a,
right. So that's kind of what,
Yeah, okay.
I think that we charged anime and us with, like, okay, so let's get some concrete timelines and some dates here.
Yeah.
And, but
If
we
it's-
also,
Are we
this is the other
authorized?
part of the process.
I just authorized one more to appoint a
I don't,
committee,
I
right?
don't, like, I'm just reading through my notes again. SBC needs to submit an application for the kind of school that they want. And so
SBC.
maybe,
Yeah.
or not, how we said, I'm sorry, the school committee needs to. So is that that happens and then we form an SBC?
Now, see, I think that this could be a
That seems
parallel
like-
thing. I think that it's just that was,
That's why I see it.
essentially, I think that was Gus thinking out loud. I can't put, I can't really. They were all interesting ideas, and he's willing to put us on the selectmen's agenda. But I think that his idea is that were we to get on the agenda, it would be because we were coming to them with a school building project that we wanted to pull the trigger on before the SBC was begun. I think that probably it would not take a whole lot of tweaking and conversation to say, can we just do both, right? It doesn't have to be an either or, let's do both and figure out what this proposal actually is, because I think there are multiple conversations about what that is.
I remember the conversation was that we're gonna try to get a consistent process of appointment, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get a consistent way that we're
Right.
gonna identify folks that want to be a part of this
Right.
and then do the appointment. And I think that's, we
And I
can't,
think that's what I put out there, but I also think that now there's this additional kind of, it's almost like nobody knows where the tennis ball is supposed to stop in this volley, right? So let's figure out how we do this.
Good luck with that anyway.
You have all of our blessings,
You do.
thoughts and prayers,
If anyone can do it, you can.
but of course,
All will be well. We just have to start.
we just have to start
It's
is the
chop, chop,
issue. I mean, like, I feel like we're on the starting block and then everybody's like, oh, false start, oh. So we just have to get it going and be, maybe, we need to go.
Yeah.
We'll push. So, public comment? No? I ask because it's my
Please,
rule.
no, please comment.
Um, All right, so we feel as though we've wrapped up that discussion to its fullest potential at this point without really going down the rabbit hole. Huh?
Our goal the school committee's goal is to get an SBC form.
Yes.
Yes, we all agree on
Oh,
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Publicly stating that, yeah.
We can vote on that if you want.
Well, there's really no vote to it. I mean, I think,
He's being cheeky, yes.
this committee will vote on anything.
I always say, right first, rush second. That's what I'm saying. Rushed and right.
Yes,
But rushed is important.
yeah, we need
Yeah.
to get going.
I mean, because at this point, we're really looking at when, I mean, Medfield is, it's like the rapture during the summer. Everybody else has been taken up in the sky and there are like 5 of us left. So becomes more difficult to kind of recruit and really have kind of a wide range of people over the summer. So, I mean, we're already looking at September. Let's get as much
Yeah,
kind of infrastructure
Yeah.
underneath this.
the process, yeah.
Okay. So then I'm going to move on to the fiscal year 21 update.
So Michael, you have that information? So Michael will present just the feedback that we got from the end of the year report and the audit that came. We have new auditors this year. The town has changed companies, so it's the first time that Michael and I have worked with them. We met with them a couple of weeks ago, and then they provided the letter, which I believe was in your materials.
Yeah.
So Michael.
So, correct, Dr. Martin and I met with the auditor a few weeks ago. We hadn't come in because we hadn't met them yet. They came on board back last August. They started their process with the town last August. In the middle of the audit, they had, I believe, 2 out of the 3 auditors that were here left in positions in other the companies.
And they
So the
glorious.
audit came to kind of a halt until they recruited and got new auditors. So it did delay the process, because usually our end of year audit is around November, December. But they performed the audit in May. So we were behind the 8 ball on that. But they came in, they did the audit, and they found that we were in compliance with the audit procedures that they follow, which is
We were in compliant or we were compliant?
we were compliant.
Excellent.
Yes, thank you. With the
Just like to
state,
clarify that sort of thing. That's one of
Yes.
our few actual jobs.
with the DESI requirements, the requirement did change this year. So they had to go through a few more schedules. But there was no findings. There are a couple of things that they did recommend, one being that there is a agreement between the select board and the school committee on how they charge the school department with town functions. So that letter, sometime in the fall, has to be reviewed and re-voted in, because the last time that it was voted in was 12 years ago.
Anyway, yeah.
Did they have any specific recommendations about the way that town and school, the way that we are charged for those? Or they simply wanted the
Which
letter
services would
reviewed?
those be like a,
So
Water,
it's health
fire,
insurance,
plowing, elevators.
it's health insurance, it's financial services.
Rent.
It's, resource officer, it's to just different aspects that are required by law that we have to have it with the town.
Yeah.
Because we have our operating budget, and we have our revolving account, but then there are services that the town provides to schools that have to be charged back to the end of year report. They didn't have an issue with how the agreement was. They just feel that there's a new committee, and that the last time this was voted in, I believe over 10 years ago, that should just be reviewed and re-voted.
By both boards, right, Michael?
By both boards.
yeah, I only asked it back in the day, there was, like, they don't charge us off for the library, right? I mean, parts of the public library. right?
No, that's not.
And because we have our own libraries, and then we've run into that.
When do you think would be the best time to have that? They will come in and audit this year, I assume, much sooner Ben.
So, yeah, so our reports to the Department of Education
thank you.
have to be
Good night, Kristen.
by the end of September, so I would say that, you know.
When we get back,
beginning of
October, November.
September, that we should just- And then,
so we'll make sure to put that on the schedule. You want to put that? You're so good.
so that was what, I think that was the major recommendation.
Right.
Could have been worse.
Oh, but we never expected it to be.
As
So
As I
that's
say
the
every
other-
year, the end of the year report is a fair, and, Michael does a great job with it every year, gets it in on time. That was never the practice here before Michael came here, it was always late, so it's great. It's great that he takes such pride in his work, and the audits show that he does a great job, so I appreciate it, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm gonna officially say, and Kathy, I know you're fascinated.
Well, I am.
All
I
right,
actually
good.
do too many as well.
She's,
Riveting.
You're the one.
But if you don't have any public comment, then I will move on. Okay, thank you. So then we move on to donations. Dr. Marston, if you'd like to present.
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. Ask that you approve the following donations as shared. $5,000 to the Medfield CPAC from Louis and Mary Kay Smith Foundation. $1,000 to the Medfield High School gift account from Gail Duffy. $8.10 to the Blake Middle School gift account from Box Tops for Education. $920 to the Medfield High School gift account from donations made in the honor of former Medfield High School teacher John Coco Jr. And an itemized donation list is included in number 2.
Actually, I just caught something in our somewhere. Gail Duffy.
Recently retired Gail
recently
Duffy.
Retired, yeah.
Yes,
And
donated
she donated
$1,000.
to the- Thank you,
High school.
Gail. I mean, I thank everyone who has donated, but I think that's just very kind. Thank you.
Curiosity, Dr. Marston, around the Medfield CPAC. I was just under the impression that the CPAC was a separate 501c3.
No, we changed that last year. They asked us to.
They still are.
Yeah, but we do.
We take care of the finances.
So the new procedures that we, it's like a revolving account.
Yeah.
That we manage. They have to vote on it. They have to.
Gotcha.
Make sure that they can vote on it.
Yeah, okay, I was just
Yeah.
curious.
What was that, like last year or 2 years?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
So moved.
Did I make the motion?
Close.
Motion to approve donations as read by Dr. Marston.
So moved.
Thank you, Leo. Do I have a second?
Second, Anna Mae.
Okay, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And here we are in the wrap-up part of this. Does anybody have informational items? I know that Tim wanted to put something out there quickly, but Dr. Marston, do you have? anything?
Just a quick, as we end another year, I just want to, thank all of you for your dedication and your work. Certainly, all of our students, our teachers, our parents. It seemed like the year that lasted. It was quick in some regards, but in other regards, we look back on some of the things that we've had to go through. It seemed like a really long year as well. So just happy that our kids continue to do really, really well. Our teachers are working hard. I know that I wish everyone a great summer.
Thank you. And
And can I just
to
ask,
reiterate that,
how did it
I
go?
will not voluntarily have a meeting in July.
Good.
July off, right?
How'd it go?
Unless
Does
things
anyone
go
have the,
really sideways.
graduation last night? Was it-
Oh,
Great.
yeah.
Yeah, that was great. And it's great that it's outside.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fifth grade went well today outside.
Fifth grade was
Oh,
great.
yeah.
I learned a lot today too, that the haunted bathrooms that we like. That the kids spoke, and they're a little bit smelly. So,
Who was the speaker?
they were there was a representative from each of the fifth grade classrooms that get up and speak about a memory, an elementary
Julie
school
Ty
memory.
too. So Julie Ty was a grad who was in the Olympics this year as a speed
Right,
skater.
yeah.
She was a guest speaker. So it was great.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, she was awesome.
the whole thing was cute, right?
So the year that our kids were in fifth grade, Jim James,
That's
Was
right.
the
Yes,
speaker.
yes, yes,
And
yes, yes.
it was like odd but life-changing. It was like it popped up on my memories the other day. And I was
no,
like,
that's cool.
that was one of the funniest graduation speeches. And I love living in a town in which your local bookstore owner is also seen as a superhero,
Oh, it's awesome.
you know,
It's
so it's just great.
He is.
And that's, every year those are great.
Yeah.
Great events.
And
So, I'm
very-
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. No, and I'm grateful to MMA and all the
Yes.
the
Oh, yeah.
groups. I love how we do that at the end of the year. It just reiterates how we can't do this alone.
No,
And so it's all these, community supported organizations that really help lift us up. So thank you.
it's what keeps a budget that by necessity stays pretty close to the
No.
bone, allows us to be as creative as we're able to
For
be.
sure.
So, I keep on pointing at Tim, but only because Tim and I had a conversation about something that we wanted to put on the agenda and talk about a little bit
Yeah, I think we,
in preparation for whatever we might do this summer in terms of workshops.
I think you said there will be one more meeting.
I think that we're gonna have to do one more
I think
meeting and
we're
there's
gonna
some
have to, right?
housekeeping.
Probably for contracts.
Yeah,
collective
so
bargaining.
we'll do a meeting, we have to come out to, and announce those, should we vote on them positively. But there were a couple of things that we might need to do, housekeeping stuff I like to talk about anyway, but. Tim
Yeah,
will
so
be about 10
if we
minutes.
were to do another meeting, and I know, I've just talked about a structure that can just facilitate a little more community engagement and involvement. That at least, Dr. Marson, I talked to you a little bit about it. I'd like to, we've talked about it as maybe doing it as a workshop, probably in August. I think that would be appropriate. I'd love to just kind of describe it at a high level. Try to keep it in like the 15, 20 minutes, get just initial input. So we all have something to think about during the summer. So that would be, I do recognize sometimes that, meetings we run are brief to just do this. I think that would be
I think that,
really the
if,
right amount of time.
knowing that the very few things that we would need to do at that next meeting in open session, wouldn't mind devoting, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, and
Just
I'm
something that
keeping
sets
it
us up for
more
the
discussion than
summer.
than just a
Cool.
couple ideas.
sounds
great.
That's great.
T-shirt gun. Goes big.
Even on remote, because I might make that a remote meeting. So if you're shooting a t-shirt, cutting your computer up.
I always feel accomplished when I can get one Francesca to laugh behind the scenes.
Right.
I always.
All right. So future agenda items would be this kind of community involvement and communication. And depending on how we want to structure this MASC school committee roles and responsibilities workshop, which actually I spoke to Jim Harvey about this, and he said it would be about 90 minutes. So it may be something that we want to consider in a different context than one of our nighttime meetings, but then also film it so that people have that as a resource. So maybe it's something we can collaborate with Medfield TV on, somewhere in the studio, we can do it there. There's no reason we need to do it here. And assuming if, I think these are great things for people to know, because each of us always learns something different. When you're in the weeds so often, it's nice to know these little nuggets that are different, and kind of help you guide how you think about your school committee and your job. And then in August, we also have the 22-23 election of officers for the school committee. So we'll hit that when we get there, but I just wanted to make sure that is our next official scheduled meeting.
What's the date on that again?
Well, our next scheduled regular meeting is on August 26th, 2022. And we've talked about perhaps needing to schedule a meeting next week, but we'll see what happens. We do have another week and a half of June left. I assume that everybody's hitting the road immediately after the. It's August 24th.
Mentally, my brain goes away after 30th.
Okay, so it's August 24th. I correct the record.
What little I have.
A Wednesday?
No, it's free.
I decorrect.
3 for 4.
Thursday.
Yes.
Third time.
Okay, yeah.
Third time's a charm. 3 times for the normal mind. Okay.
College dropout.
So,
For us, September. Generally, a lot of schools are in August.
Yeah. When's your college drop off, Jeff?
Right around there.
Yeah.
for one child. Labor Day for the other.
Yeah. Oh, so would the 24th be a particularly bad
You mean the
week? Is there a
25th?
way? 25th,
25th.
whenever it is, somewhere in
I'm
that period
sure-
of time?
I'll have to see.
I'll figure it out.
Okay,
I'll figure
so
it out.
as of now, it's scheduled for the 25th, but we may need to change that. I find it hard to look 2 months into the future a lot of the time anyway. Okay, so was there any, I didn't actually ask Michelle or if there were any other informational items.
I don't have any other information. No, I'm not here on August 25th. Just FYI. I could zoom in, I guess.
Well, you know, that's a real bad meeting to miss, Michelle, because that's when we give out
Really
the
fun
jobs.
job.
Yeah.
Great move.
Yeah.
Great move.
Oh, I see.
Or-
Enjoy your
I
trip.
see recording secretary all over your future.
Or
All right. We're gonna bring it together. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Anna Mae, second.
Tim Knight, second.
Tim Knight, and all in favor? Aye. The motion passes and meeting is adjourned at 8:32.